Hello, Phil Conrad here for Computer Science 156. This is the next in a series of videos about building the back end of a Spring Boot application that does CRUD operations, create, read, update, destroy, on a database table. And we have arrived at the portion of the project where we are working on the put operation. So before we did get and post, get is an operation in a web service for retrieving information. It is the practice that in a get operation, you don't change anything on the state of the application and the contents of the database. You only retrieve information. A post will add things to the information. A put will change things in the information. So the edit endpoint, where we have an existing record, but we want to change the contents of the record, that would be a put. So let's go ahead and get started on this. I will bring up a terminal window and I'll cd into our repo. I'll do a get status. Looks like we are on create DB UCV dining comments menu item. That's completely the wrong branch. So I'm going to get checkout main. I'm going to get pull origin main to make sure that we're up to date with the main branch. And I want to build this off the branch from my previous pull request. So that previous pull request was this one. And you can see here that this is issue 53. And now I'm working on issue 54. I'm going to look at this pull request. So this is the issue. It's linked to the pull request. And here I can see that that is the branch of my previous pull request. So I'm going to build off of that branch. So PC commits get by ID. I'm going to come over here and get checkout. PC commits get by ID. And it says that it did not match any files known to Git. And that's because I need to do a get fetch origin. Let me actually clear my screen. Get fetch origin. What this does, fetch and pull are not the same. Fetch simply updates the branch pointers of my local repo, the one on my machine where this terminal window is open. It updates the branch pointers to be in sync with those that are on GitHub. And any new branches that were created on other computers, for example, the previous 3 videos I did on a completely different computer, a computer at my house. I'm now here in my office on campus, different laptop. This laptop doesn't have any of those branches. So get fetch origin will update all of the branches, right? So you see here are branches that I've been working on that start with PC. There's a branch, DJ, Daniel, who's one of the LAs in the course, Janil, another one of the LAs, Hungary. All of the branches that myself and other people on my team have been working on, they're now updated. So now if I go back and bring back get checkout PC commits get by ID, it totally knows about the branch. So that's the purpose of the get fetch command. It's to update the branch pointers on my local machine to have information about all the branches that are known on origin, origin being the remote that points to GitHub. As a reminder, if I do get remote -v, it tells me this repo, I have 2 remotes. One is origin. That's the repo I'm actually working in. I also have a remote for my starter code. And I could do get fetch starter if I wanted to, and that would update with any branches that are on the starter code repo, and there are a few. That's not really here nor there, but just to show you what get fetch does. Get fetch updates branch pointers. But in any case, now get status, I am on branch get commits by ID. And I'm going to create a new branch for this issue that we're working on. Let's go back to the project board and see the name of that issue. That is adding put for a single record in the commit table. So we will call this get checkout PC put for commit table. That's a decent branch name. And oh, get checkout, it doesn't exist yet. So I need to do get checkout -b to create the new branch. Okay, code dot We'll open up VS Code in the correct directory. And by the way, if you don't have that ability, the way you get it is to, under here, where this box at the top of VS Code, show and run commands. If I type in shell install code command in path, that is how you get that in your path. So I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it right now. But if you do not have the ability to type code dot, meaning current directory, and open up VS Code in the current directory, that's how you get that ability. You go up here, go to show and run commands, type in shell, and then choose this option right there. All right, so let's go ahead and close up all the files there. And what we're going to want to do is go into the controller for the commits controller. So there it is. And we are going to want to get the code for the put method, the HTTP method for put. And we've been borrowing code, basing all of this on the UCSB dates controller, which is here. So let's actually open, just have this open for now. What we're looking for, here's a get mapping on all. Here's a get mapping on empty string. Empty string, all of these are prefixed with API UCSB dates. So get API UCSB dates with the ID parameter, the question mark and the ID parameter. That's what this method does. This one is post, and you can see that it's a post mapping. This one's a delete mapping. That's not what we want. Excuse me, sorry for the sneeze. This is the one we want. This is the put mapping, and it says update a single date. So we're going to copy this code. And this is the code that we're going to copy into the commits controller. I'll just put it at the end. And now we're going to update this. Instead of update a single date, it'll be update a single commit. The param will still be ID. It'll be the ID of the commit to update. Incoming is the new commit, and we're going to return the updated commit object. And this is going to update a single commit. We're still going to require the user to have the admin role. We don't need anything here because the HTTP verb, the method of put, will identify this and distinguish it from the other methods in this file. We're not going to return a UCSB date. We're going to return a commit. We're not going to update a UCSB date. We're going to update a commit. We could do a lot of this with global search and replace, but I think it's better to go through one line at a time so that we understand what we're doing. We are going to pass into this in the request body, not in the URL parameters, but in the request body. And you'll see what that looks like on Swagger in a moment. We're going to pass in the entire JSON object for the new contents of the commit. We want to return a commit here. After we look in the commit repository, what we're doing is the ID comes in as one of the parameters. We're going to find that record, and we're going to look it up in the database. That's what commit repository.findById does. And we either find it, and we have a reference to it, or else we throw an entity not found exception, and we want to use commit.class. This entity not found exception, by the way, you may remember from the earlier video, up here at the top of the file, we're extending API controller. And if you look on API controller, the parent class has this exception handler for entity not found. And we pass into that the throwable E. And from that, we can get the class that we passed in and the message. And that's how we end up formatted with a message of, oh, we couldn't find this commit. So you'll see that message come out when we look up a commit that doesn't exist in the database. That is provided by the parent class, again, here at the top of every one of our controllers when we extend API controller. All right, so we've looked up the commit. If it doesn't exist, we throw an exception. But if it does exist, we're going to basically take every one of these is going to look the same. It's going to be commit dot something, and it's going to be commit dot set, and we have all the different setters, except for the ID. We don't want to change the ID, but we can change, and we'll just do them in alphabetical order. Change author login to incoming dot get author login. And we want to do commit dot set commit time to incoming dot get commit time. We want to do commit dot set message to incoming dot get message. And yes, so that that there was GitHub Copilot doing its job. It guessed, well, gosh, dude, you've done this for 3 of the attributes of this class. You must be about to do it for the 4th one. Sure enough, I was. Now we want to save this, so we're going to do commit repository dot save commit, and then return the saved commit. So there it is. That's pretty much it. Just to walk through it again, we're updating a single commit. We pass in the ID of the commit that we want to update. It should be an existing commit. And we pass in the JSON body of the commit that we want to change it to. It comes in as JSON and automatically gets converted into a Java object, a valid commit. We look up the old commit. We set the object in memory to have the same parameters as the incoming commit, and then we save that in the database. It's that simple. All right, so with this in place, I should be able to come over here and do Maven Spring Boot run in this terminal. And in this terminal, I should be able to do npm. Actually, I need to do nvm use 2017 0 to get the right version of Node, and then npm start. Hopefully that works. Nope. I have apparently not done the install here, so I will do npm CI. That didn't work, so we're going to try to do npm. Actually, we're going to do what we did on one of the other videos, which is, oh, I need to be in the front end directory. That's actually what's going on here. So let's now once again try npm CI, and then we'll try npm start. Now, I think one of the things we may run into here is the fact that in the other video, I rotated the secret, the client secret, because I exposed it in the process of making the video. I don't think I have that client secret on this machine in the .env file. So I may have to go look that up. Since we've already covered how to do that in the previous video, if we do run into that error, I'm just going to pause the video while I fix it. But let's see what happens. So npm start, it's going to bring up localhost 3000, and that'll have a link to localhost 8080. And it's saying that that is not reachable, and that is because over here, I tried to do Maven Spring Boot run, and it was like, nope, sorry. And the change is this change where it's the change set checksum. So that happens when I started work on this computer, went to another computer, the database got out of sync, and on localhost, the easiest thing to do is just start over. Maven clean will reset the local database. So let's try Maven Spring Boot run a second time. So here we go. And that seems to be working a little bit better. Let's see now what happens if I go to localhost 8080. That is good. I am anticipating we may have some trouble with OAuth. And sure enough, the OAuth client was not found. And if I do an ls on .env. I don't even have a .env here. So we already went over how to configure the .env in our first video. So I'm going to pause for a moment, configure that because I don't want to reveal the client ID and client secret again. So I'll pause that and fix it, and then we'll resume. So be back in just a moment. Okay, resuming the recording. I've edited the .env with the client ID and client secret. We're going to try Maven Spring Boot run again. And hopefully this time we will be able to log in to there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, good. We've logged in. We'll go to Swagger and we will come down here to commits, and I will do a get all. And we have no commits in the database. So before I can do a put, I need to post. So message, test message, HTTPS github.com example commit ABCDEFG. Actually wouldn't have a G. There we go. Author login, P. Conrad, and commit time 2024, 1101 T 1506Z. Execute. And now we have something in the database. I'm going to take this. This is the JSON, and I'm going to come up here to put. And first, let's try an ID that doesn't exist. We know that the only ID in the database right now is 1, and if I look for 2 and execute, it's going to say commit with ID 2 not found, entity not found exception. This message is produced by that error handler, that exception handler that's in the API controller parent class that we saw earlier. But if I put in 1, and if I paste in here, here's my the JSON representation. Test message with some new text. And the URL, ABCDEF, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. P. Conrad, let's change it to C. Gaucho, and we'll change the time, we'll change the date to tomorrow's date. So I've changed each one of these fields, execute, and I get back, you can see the response body, all of these changes have been made. And if I do a get up here now and look for get commit ID 1, you see all of those changes have taken effect. So this is the backend method that we use to create the ability to edit and update existing records in the database. So we've implemented the method, we've tested it on localhost. We are now ready to do 2 things. One is to write the test cases, and the other is to test it on Doku. So because it takes a little while to deploy on Doku, I'm going to go ahead and do a commit now. And I'm going to do get add, get commit minus, I should follow my own advice. Always do get status after get add dot. That's what I wanted. Get commit minus MPC, add put method to commits controller. And also no unit test yet. That's in the next commit. So that is there. Some people would say that you should not make a commit unless you have the code and the test. I think that's debatable. In this case, I want to try to work efficiently. So I'm doing this so that I can go over to SSH pconrad at Cecil. I want to run this on Doku. So SSH Doku. And I have to push it to GitHub in order to be able to run it on Doku. So I am going to do Doku get sync. My app name is team01 dev pconrad1. My repo is github.com, UCSB, CS156, F24, team01 staff, and I need this branch. And this branch is PC put for commit table. There it is. Okay, so there's the get sync, that runs fast. And then Doku PS rebuild, team01 dev pconrad1. That one takes a little while longer. So we will, oh wait, hold on. I think I saw an error message there. PC put for commit table, not a valid SHA-1. Huh. Well, I am concerned about that. I wonder whether, let's control C this and let's try that get sync again. That's interesting. Wonder what I have done wrong here. Did I not? Oh, I did the get commit, but I didn't do the get push yet. Get push origin, PC put for commit table. Now I can go over here and do Doku get sync. There we go. That looks better. So note to self and note to all of you, when you do a Doku get sync, pay attention to the error message. Don't just assume that it worked because you might have forgotten to push. So glad I caught that. All right, now we'll do the rebuild and hopefully that will go well. And while the rebuild is going through, we can try to write our test case. So if we come back over here and do Maven test minus D, test equals commits controller tests, Jacoco report, I think what we will find is that we get just the Jacoco report for just that one class. And since that's the only one that we've edited, that's the only one we really care about, open target site Jacoco index. And sure enough, you can see that this controller, now most of these others are showing no test coverage. Those are red herrings. We didn't run those tests, so of course there's no test coverage. But this commits controller, the fact that it's not completely green, that's a concern. And it is this update commit, the put operation that has no test coverage. That's not a surprise. So let's write the test for it. And what we can do is look in the dates controller tests. So if we look under tests, Java, controllers, UCSB dates controller tests, we are looking for the tests that have to do with the put. So we're looking at mock MVC perform, and when we see put, those are the tests that we want. So far, this is get, this is get, this is get, this is post, not what we were looking for. This one's delete. That one is also delete. Edit, this is probably going to be it. And sure enough, there it is, perform put. So we want this one. And my guess is there will also be one for editing a UCSB date that does not exist. So we've got these, basically these two tests, because our code under test has a branch in it. You do this or you do that. So we're going to need at least two tests to test both of those branches. So let's bring up, I'll do Command P on Mac, and then I can type in commits controller, and there's commits controller tests. Go all the way to the bottom, plop in these two tests. The green line says that's the code that hasn't been committed to GitHub yet. So admin can edit an existing commit. It looks like we are setting up two different local date times. So instead of setting up two different local date times for a commit, we're going to set up two different zoned date times. So ZDT1 and ZDT2, and we'll just change this one to be the 4th of the month instead of the 3rd of the month. We have a date and then an edited date. We're going to replace that with a commit and an edited commit. So here is our original commit, and here is going to be our edited commit. And what we want is a change in each of these. So we'll make this team01 instead of team02. We will make this new message. We'll make this be C Gaucho, and we'll make this be 2. Now, I'll just give you a hint here. If you want to avoid having a mutation testing gap, you should make sure that you test changing every single one of the attributes except for the primary key, except for the ID. Because otherwise you'll come back and let's suppose we didn't change the commit time. When we did mutation testing, this line right here would show up on the mutation report saying, hey, I eliminated the line that changes the commit time and no tests failed. So you don't have any test for this. So to test every one of these lines of code, we need to make sure that our test changes every one of the attributes in the object. All right, so now that we've got our before commit and our after commit set up, we're going to go to the request body and we're going to change UCSB date edited to edited commit. Instead of UCSB date repository, it's going to be commit repository. Find by ID is still good, but only 2 M's in commit. We're going to look for 67 as our ID. And then we're going to return optional of the original commit, which was commit 1 in this case. We're going to look for 67. That matches here. And that all looks reasonable. The content time is application JSON because that's what we're sending to the application. This should be commit repository, and this should be commit repository. And we want to be sure that we find by ID 67L, that we save the edited commit. And that comment no longer applies, so we'll get rid of that. And that is the rest of our test. We have one more test to check, but let's go ahead and comment out the second one for now. And let's just, there we go. Command / comments out the entire block. That way we can go ahead and do maven test -d test equals commits controller tests. And hopefully that new test will pass. We can check that one before we start working on the second one. Ooh, it failed. So it's a good thing we checked. All right. It says status expected 202, but was 404. So what that is saying, if 404, and there it is, API UCSB dates does not exist. That URL does not exist in this controller. And this is not testing the whole app. It's only testing this controller. So that's why we got a 404, because the URL is wrong. We don't want a URL of UCSB dates. We want API commits. So let's try running it again. And this time, success. So now we will go ahead and uncomment this last test. Command / toggles that. Admin cannot edit a commit that does not exist. Instead of a local date time and a UCSB date, we want a commit. So I'll grab these lines. This is a commit. That'll work for us. We don't need the second zone date time. There's a commit. We're going to write to the request body. We're going to write commit 1. And we're going to say when you look for 67L in the commit repository. So when commit repository defined by ID 67L, L is meaning that this is a long as opposed to a plain integer, then return an empty optional, meaning you didn't find it. Here we're looking for number 67 and we expect it to be not found, 404. Actually, no, I think that's right. That's 404. And then we're going to verify that we looked for it in the commit repository. But then what we want to get back is the JSON for so we're taking the response, turning it into JSON as a map string to object, and then we're asserting that the key in the message, like getting the message value from the JSON, that this is the text. And if you recall, when we ran this over on Swagger, do I still have that open? I don't. But if you recall, when we ran it on Swagger, that was the result we got back. Oh, yes, we do. Here it is. I don't know if we're still running it. We are not, but if I do Maven Spring Boot run again to fire that up and make sure that we're logged in. Okay, we are logged in, so we'll go back to Swagger. And if I look up a commit that doesn't exist, like 3, I get one of these messages, commit with ID 3 not found, entity not found exception. We're basically looking at the message key and looking at what the value is for that key. Now we're actually doing it here in the put. So this is actually more accurate to show it here, but you can see it's the same message. And that is what our test is looking for. UCSB date with ID 67 not found, but of course it should be commit with ID 67 not found. This time we will also remember to change this to API commit. Now, is it commit or commits? Let's look at the top. Commits, plural. So API commits, ID 67. I think we are ready to try running the test. So let's do Maven test. And this time we'll just go ahead and do Maven test Jacoco report. We'll run the entire test suite and the entire Jacoco report because we're just about ready to push this. So we'll go ahead and run the whole thing. Does not take that long. And now we'll open target, site, index, Jacoco index. There it is. All green. So get status, get add, get status, get commit minus MPC add test for put in commits controller, get push origin PC put for commit table. And we are ready to do a pull request. So let's come over to our repo. And here's our Kanban board. And if I'm trying to get to the repo, one easy way to get there, click on any of the issues and then click here and it'll take you right to the repo. I can see PC put for commit table, compare and pull request. It's right here. In this PR, we add the put operation to the commits controller so that we will be able to edit existing commits. And I could go to Swagger and get a picture of this. I'll make the screen a little smaller so it fits a little better. This is, optional, but very nice to have because it really tells, if I preview it, makes it very clear to the person reviewing the pull request what it is that you did. In this case, I'm going to do a regular pull request rather than a draft pull request because I think this one is probably ready to review. And I'll go ahead and ask for reviewers. I'll ask Daniel and Grace and Janelle and Nemei and Hung Rui and Sangeeta for a review on this. It will run through all these checks, and it'll probably be green in a few minutes. Since there is a pull request, oh, one other thing I forgot to do, but I should put up at the top here, closes, then look back on my Kanban board. This is number 54, closes, # 54. That's put, that's right. Update comment. So now the PR, this will take a minute, but in a minute that will show up. I can drag this over to in review. If I click on this, I should see under development, there is the issue. And then in the issue under development, there is the pull request. So they link to each other. That is what we want. And it's now time for me to add the delete, which I believe will be the last of the CRUD operations, and then we're finished. So we will do that in the next video. Thank you for watching.